Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Greetings, dear friends. Vesak Greetings from the Dhammadharini Monastery in Northern California. I will now invite Ayya Suvijjana to say a few words about the protection of metta in this special age of staying at home.
We as human beings have the wonderful opportunity to have the teachings of the Buddha. In this era, this is one of the things about this era is the teachings are so readily available. And so this is one way to honor the Buddha on Vesak is to contemplate the Buddha's teachings and to follow his teachings. In one of the discourses of the Buddha said before his awakening, before his enlightenment, he examined his own mind and he saw unwholesome mental states as well as the wholesome mental states. And he saw the harm in the unwholesome states. And he saw the benefit of the wholesome states. So one of the examples of the unwholesome mental states he was examining was ill will. And the example of the wholesome was goodwill or metta, loving kindness. These two states are opposed to one another. If you have hatred in your heart, then you're unable to have loving kindness in your heart. And if you have loving kindness in your heart, it actually drives out hatred. So if we maintain thoughts of loving kindness, then we're able to completely eradicate the unwholesome mental states. Fear, anxiety also. If we're cultivating wholesome states, maintaining wholesome states, then our mind will be free from the unwholesome. It's just like there's a simile the Buddha gives of the peg, where there's a wooden chair or some kind of table held together by pegs. And instead of nails, they used wooden pegs during the time of the Buddha. And these pegs would start wearing out and getting rotten. So a carpenter would come and take a fresh new peg and pound out the rotten peg. And then in doing that, they're strengthening the chair. So just as a carpenter pounds out the rotten peg with a fresh peg, we can do this with the wholesome mental states. We can do this with loving kindness. So metta is our great protection. It protects us from the unwholesome. It protects us from hatred. And so whatever situation we're in, no matter how difficult things are for us, we don't have to fall into anxiety, fear, anger. We can cultivate these wholesome states instead. And then we can be a benefit to ourselves and to others. I'll read a teaching from the Buddha, the simile of the saw. And he's speaking to his monks, the monks, he addresses them as bhikkhus. Bhikkhus, even if bandits were to sever you savagely, limb by a two-handled saw, he who gives rise to a mind of hate towards them would not be carrying out my teaching. Herein, bhikkhus, you should train yourself thus. Our minds will remain unaffected. We will utter no evil words. We shall abide compassionate for their welfare, with a mind of loving kindness, without inner hate. We shall abide, pervading them with a mind imbued with loving kindness. Starting with them, we shall pervade the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. That is how you should train yourself. So we honor the Buddha by putting his teaching into practice. It's said that as the Buddha was about to pass away, he was laid between the two sal trees, and the flowers, the trees burst into bloom, and the flowers are falling onto the Tathagata's body, and from the heavens, coral flowers were falling, and there was heavenly music, and this was how the devas were honoring the Buddha. And the Buddha, appreciated that, of course, but then he said, really, rather, as human beings, monks, nuns, lay men and lay women, in order to honor the Buddha, we should practice the Dhamma in accordance to the Dhamma. We should follow his teachings. And this is how we should honor, revere, and respect the Buddha, the Tathagata. I offer that for your consideration.
Friends, in our practice of metta bhavana, the cultivation of loving kindness, we know that this is one of the most powerful, universal, and effective means of dispelling any negative thoughts, any kind of anxiety, grief, sorrow, irritation, all of the negativities that could be affecting people can very powerfully be dispelled by the practice of loving kindness. In coming into loving kindness meditation, we like to begin with establishing very clear mindfulness, developing the full light of awareness flooding through the entire body, and the way we experience everything by way of the living body, and then experiencing all of the aspects of mentality with a very clear kind of discernment, recognizing what it's like, what's going on. And then within that open, compassionate mindfulness, which is able to see and embrace everything, we have also a discriminating kind of mindfulness, which is able to recognize what states are conducive to our welfare, conducive to our true happiness, onward leading for our path of practice, and then which states are opposite to the path of practice, creating suffering and vexation, creating blockages that stop us from reaching success. Just as the peg of loving kindness can be used to knock out the peg of ill will or some other unwholesome state. When we know, are fully aware with this pervading bright light of awareness, the state of our existence, and then arouse the thought of kindness. And notice clearly what changes in us when the thought of loving kindness is present. The change may be in terms of knowing about our perception of loving kindness, experiencing a feeling of loving kindness, knowing the intention of loving kindness. But every aspect of mind and body is full and pervaded with loving kindness. And we then spend the meditation hour spreading and flooding the zone so that the entire mental space and our entire physical experience is flooded, pervaded, and saturated with loving kindness. To the extent that we can sustain this practice, to that extent, we have blocked out the other, any kind of negative thought or hindrance. The Buddha said we should live delighting in and enjoying non-ill will. As you live this way, the thought will occur to you, by this behavior, we do not oppress anyone, either frail or firm. This is the solitude or the seclusion from ill will, the seclusion from negative states of mind. This is the seclusion that the Buddha recommends. And then we have the thought of safety, the safety from ill will, the safety from negative states of mind, because the thought of loving kindness is a barrier, a protective cover that stops the negative thoughts from coming in. And so this is the protective gear that the Buddha is recommending for us. So I welcome you now to take a few minutes and simply come to an upright posture and to bring your awareness of being in the seated posture, in the space where you are, in the here and now, with your seat planted on the chair or the cushion, feeling the body settled into the meditation posture, with the spine upright and balanced, with the solidity of being resting on the cushion, balance of the spine, and a relaxation in the body. With an open field of awareness. And from that state, bringing in a simple phrase of loving kindness. May I be well and safe. May all beings be well and safe. May I be well and safe. May all beings be well and safe. Pronouncing the words of kindness very clearly, almost a physical sense of the shape of those words of kindness, and aware of the meaning of this thought, this intention, this inclination, your highest understanding. What would it mean to be safe, to be protected, to have your path protected, to be able to overcome any obstacle, to meet your highest spiritual aspirations? And pronouncing the phrase of kindness with that sincere understanding. May I be well and safe. May all beings be well and safe. And if there's a feeling, a pleasant feeling or a neutral type feeling, a feeling connected with this thought of kindness, what's it like to dwell in the thought of kindness? The feeling is subtle but recognizable. And keeping the feeling of kindness in your field of awareness while you repeat that phrase. May I be well and peaceful. May I be well and safe. Imagine the feeling of kindness gently pervading through the entire body. So that every cell in the body is touched with the feeling of kindness. Allowing the mental space to be filled up. So the entire mental space is reverberating with the thought of kindness, with the mental feeling of kindness. Repeating the phrase silently as much as we need to keep in touch with this loving kindness practice. And if the mind wavers or loses the thought of kindness, briefly notice what that is. How is it when the mind wandered? And then come back again. If necessary, doing a full open scan of the body and the state of mind. Open awareness, what it's like right now. And then clearly pronouncing the phrase of loving kindness. And allowing kindness to pervade the whole body and to pervade the entire mental space. And when this practice of kindness is steady and clear, make it spread out beyond us to fill the whole room, to fill the entire building, to cover all of the beings around, the physical beings, the devas, the ghosts, the other beings, the higher beings and the lower beings, in all the directions, covering all of the beings with the thought of kindness.